Hey guys, what is going on? I hope you all are doing well today. Elliot here and welcome back to The Fragrance Well. So, is anybody out there a fan of boozy fragrances? Fragrances that feature boozy accords in one way or another. Great thing about it is they're not a one-to-one thing. There's different styles of boozy scents, different ways they can be presented, just like there are different forms of booze out there. So that's today's video topic. We got 10 fragrances that feature a boozy accord in one way or another. I did try to do my best to feature ones that present it in a slightly different way so they're not all considered, the same style of fragrance. Before we get started, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you do like the content, and hit that bell icon so you can be notified when I upload new videos. Let's get started. Alright, so first up, coming from the house of Givenchy, we have got Gentleman Reserve Privé. Givenchy's Gentleman Reserve Privé. This was probably one of the most sought after designer fragrances of last year. I think some of that hype has died down a bit, so now you can actually find it. I know I am personally a big fan of the Gentleman line, and I do think this is one of the best releases they have to date. So this one here uses a whiskey accord for its booziness. It's supported by that iris that is so prominent in most of the Gentleman fragrances. Also has a nice chestnut accord, giving it a bit of a warm nuttiness to it. Slight gourmand kind of touch to it, but not really full gourmand fragrance. Also has some dry woods and a bit of an earthiness to the fragrance as well. Very well done scent from the house of Givenchy. I do think the booziness of this fragrance does kind of wind down a little bit as the fragrance dries down, but you definitely can notice it if you're at least familiar with what boozy scents can smell like. So I think this is a good one here. It's also a great scent for the fall, and I think boozy fragrances in general make great cooler weather fragrances. So once again, from the house of Givenchy, this is Gentleman Reserve Privé. Alright, so the next one's coming from the house of Lalique, and this is Ombre Noir. Lalique, Ombre Noir. Focus troubles there. Anyway, this fragrance here definitely has a very prominent boozy accord. It's listed as cognac on the notes list, and it's a very kind of oak, woody kind of cognac, so it makes you think whiskey or scotch or something like that. And it's supported with quite a few Christmas-like spices. I say Christmas-like because this fragrance really can kind of put you in that holiday spirit, and also has tobacco and things like that. By the way, tobacco and booze go together very well, as you will see with other fragrances on this list. Dissimilar to Reserve Privé, this fragrance has that booziness pretty much throughout the whole wear, or at least that boozy characteristic. It is more so the feature of this fragrance rather than an addition to the fragrance like Reserve Privé. But all that being said, great boozy fragrance with a lot of other nice accords to go with it. Also great cool weather fragrance in my opinion. So once again, from Lalique, this is Ombre Noir. Alright, so the next one's coming from the house of BDK Parfums. We've got Gris Charnel X3. BDK Parfums Gris Charnel X3. So the booziness in this is coming from a bourbon vanilla accord. So this one here kind of has more of a dessert-like booziness characteristic, if you will. There's also some cardamom in here, a little bit of fig, very creamy fragrance overall, also quite a bit of iris in this. There's also bourbon vetiver kind of adding to that boozy element that this fragrance has. Really fizzy and cozy and warm fragrance featuring those boozy accords with it. I don't think the booziness is necessarily the feature of this fragrance, but it is definitely a very strong supporting role. Great boozy fragrance, check it out if you haven't already. From BDK Parfums, this is Gris Charnel X3. Next up, coming from the house of Tom Ford, we have got Tobacco Oud. Tom Ford's Tobacco Oud. Man, listen. This here is a wonderful fragrance in my opinion, but it's not going to be for everybody. But more importantly for this video, has a great whiskey kind of accord in the top of the fragrance. Now this is another one where the booziness that this has is not necessarily the feature. This is definitely more about the tobacco, and the oud kind of has a nice spicy touch to it as well. It's very earthy, very dark, very mysterious fragrance, but I love how they use that whiskey note in the top to just kind of give it this pop, if you will. As I stated earlier, tobacco fragrances blending with boozy accords make awesome fragrances in my opinion, and I think this one definitely encapsulates that sentiment. So once again, from Tom Ford, this is Tobacco Oud. All right, next up, got another one from the house of Tom Ford, so let's go ahead and get that one out the way. This is Bitter Peach. Tom Ford's Bitter Peach. You might as well call it Drunken Peach, because yes, it's a peach fragrance first and foremost. Very fizzy, kind of bright peach fragrance, but there is a lot of booze accompanying that peach flavor with this. It's almost like just call it a peach spirit, if you will. The listed boozy accords are rum, absolute, and cognac, so it's giving you kind of a culmination of two different styles of boozy fragrances. Rum can be a lot of things in terms of what it is and just in terms of alcohol on its own, and then cognac is its own thing. Also a lot of sweetness to this fragrance, so it definitely kind of has that attention grabbing quality to it, if you will. I know every time I smell this fragrance, I instantly pick up on the booziness. This is one of the fragrances that I think in my mind kind of taught me what a boozy fragrance can be, because I certainly noticed it with this one right away. Once again, from the house of Tom Ford, we have got Bitter/Drunken Peach. Next up, coming from the house of Layla Beau, we have got Tobacco 28. Layla Beau, Tobacco 28. So this is a city exclusive, Miami city exclusive for the house of Layla Beau. But it just so happens I have a Layla Beau boutique in my local Bloomingdale's here in Central Florida, and they just so happen to have this. And as soon as I smelled it, I was like, yeah, just go ahead and wrap that up right now. So as you probably would have guessed, this is a tobacco fragrance, but it has a very strong booziness to it, featuring a rum-like booziness, if you will. A little bit of spice to go with it. It really just smells like you're enjoying a nice glass of rum while waiting for a freshly rolled cigar to be handed to you. Instantly jumped to the top of the list as one of my best tobacco fragrances, and frankly, one of my best boozy fragrances too. Very smooth fragrance, and also just a great one for the fall temperatures as well. Once again, from the house of Layla Beau, this is Tobacco 28. All right, next up, coming from the house of By Killian, we've got Angel Share. By Killian, Angel Share. Now this shouldn't be a surprise. I mean, look at the bottle. It looks like something that's holding some booze in it. Man, I still really love smelling this fragrance. Now, this one here is probably the most popular fragrance I have on this list to this date. I'm just guessing on that, but one thing about it, it's definitely a boozy fragrance. Very nice cognac accord supported by a lot of spices, touch of smokiness, definitely some gourmand-like facets, kind of like a chestnut kind of vibe. Similar to Lalique Ombre Noir, has that Christmassy kind of vibe to it. Very smoky, woody, lovely boozy fragrance, lovely fragrance overall, great for the cooler temperatures. I think you always kind of have to consider this one if you're talking about really good boozy fragrances. Once again, from the house of By Killian, this is Angel Share. Let me get the bottle straight. Next up, from the house of Day 3 Fragrances, we've got Latasa de Cafe. Day 3 Fragrances, Latasa de Cafe. Now this one is great for the list because it features boozy accords along with coffee notes. Coffee and booze can really make a very interesting fragrance. If you're someone who happens to enjoy boozy coffee, you definitely would like a fragrance like this. I know there are other fragrances out there that do use that combination, but this is just also a really good one, and it's also the only one I have at the moment. Makes good use of rum mixing with coffee and a lot of sugary sweet accords that are not too strong, so I like this fragrance for that balance that it has. Also features some very nice spices. Very delicious, cozy fragrance, great boozy fragrance, also great for the cooler temperatures. Once again, from Day 3 Fragrances, we have got Latasa de Cafe. All right, next up, we got one from the house of Dior. This is gonna be Fahrenheit Parfum. Dior, Fahrenheit Parfum. So this fragrance here, easily probably one of the most popular, at least ones you can get, flankers from the original Fahrenheit DNA. This one still has that violet leaf, still has that slight petrol vibe, although it's toned down quite a bit, still has that leatheriness, but it introduces bourbon vanilla, and man, it just really elevates this scent to another level in my opinion. That bourbon vanilla is mixing with some smoky woods to really kind of give this scent kind of a bite to it, if you will. I think vanillic scents that introduce that bourbon style along with some smokiness can really make for an awesome boozy fragrance, and this one is no exception to that. So once again, from the house of Dior, we have got Fahrenheit Parfum. All right, last but not least, from the house of Emporio Armani, Stronger With You, Absolutely. Emporio Armani's Stronger With You, Absolutely. So this one is probably well known in the community as well. Definitely also has that booziness mixing with that that chestnut vibe that's very present in the Stronger With You line, kind of set it apart and made it a very popular fragrance. This one makes use of a nice rum style booziness, kind of this fruity element to it. Also uses bourbon vanilla with it, uses that Marron Glace, which is kind of a candied chestnut vibe, has a little bit of a chocolatiness to it as well. So a pretty good gourmand style boozy fragrance. A great fragrance to get some positive attention. People really like this scent DNA, and so do a lot of other companies because they've all copied the Stronger With You DNA, if you will. Once again, from the house of Emporio Armani, we have got Stronger With You, Absolutely. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this list. That was 10 fragrances that feature a boozy accord in one way or another. Are you guys a fan of boozy scents? Let me know down in the comments below. If you have any boozy fragrances in your collection, which one is your favorite? I want to thank you guys for watching all the way until the end, and remember to be well and smell well, and I will see you in the next episode of The Fragrance Well. Have a good one.